Hey, Destiny Church. Thanks for joining us again today as we continue in our Life of Christ series. Today, we're going to be in Matthew chapter 6, verse 12. And here's what it says. It says, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." Now, how many of you ever found yourself in a situation where if you knew you did something for someone, whether it's for business or just in friendship, knew that if you did it, that they were going to owe you one? We've all been there, right? What's interesting is that in the day that this was written, in the world that Jesus walked and that Jesus lived in, there was a practice of lending and borrowing that was so predatory that you can end up enslaved to the person you owed a debt to. Now, I believe it's no accident that Jesus says, "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." It was a big problem in the world that they lived in, and I also believe it's still a big problem today. It may not happen with debt and borrowing, but I believe it happens in our relationships. See, it's interesting that whenever someone wrongs you, they end up indebted to you. St. Augustine, one of the early church fathers, once said that God is the only one who can cancel debt and incur no loss. See, I think a lot of the time in relationships, we have fear that if we let go of power or let go of the things that we feel that we have the right to hold over someone, that we're not going to be able to cover the cost. Listen, forgiveness is not something we have to do because it's right. It's something we do because that's who we are as Christians. Being a Christian means that you're a Jesus follower and you want to be like Jesus. And in fact, the center of our belief system is someone who bled and died on a cross for people who wronged him and people who hurt him, but he loved them anyway. How much more so has God called us to live in the same way? The truth is that forgiveness often costs us things like pride, and we have to be the person who comes in and says, "Hey, I messed up," or "Hey, I'm sorry." Now, I know there are people listening and watching this who've had terrible things happen to you in your life. But listen, we find Peter at the beginning of Acts speaking to the Jewish people, the very people who crucified Jesus. And he tells them that what they did in ignorance. And get this, there is still grace for them all. This is the kind of crazy love and crazy forgiveness that God has called us to. The truth is, when we look at Jesus, when we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, we are able to forgive people that we thought we would never be able to forgive, because we are forgiving out of the abundance of God's grace and not of our own strength. When we walk with Jesus, he enables us to do that. And not only are we set free in the process, those we forgive are also set free as well. Think about this. Is it possible that through this, you become a part of God's plan in saving and healing someone who's hurt you? Here's the deal. We don't have to forgive and love from our own lack, but we get to forgive and we get to love out of the abundance and the storehouses of God's love and out of God's forgiveness. And God has grace upon grace upon grace for every day. So my last question for you today is this: who do you need to extend that same grace to that you have received in your life?